What's going on YouTube? My name is Wyatt and it's been a minute since I made a video. Just because I haven't been uploading though doesn't mean that I haven't been using my camera. I have been fortunate enough to go do some photos for some friends and family members, and that's what I'm going to show you guys today in episode number 2 of reviewing my photos. Is that what I call this series? I think. Yeah, reviewing my photos. Episode 2. So in the last episode of reviewing my photos, we took a look at basically just a photo dump of some photos that I had taken over the weekend. In this episode, it's going to be a little bit different. These are the first 3 clients that I've had, and I say that lightly just because I haven't really reached out to anybody to do photo work. These are just some friends and family members that asked me to do photos for them. And yeah, it was a pretty cool experience to kind of dip my toes into doing work for somebody else. It is a pretty similar story as last time though, because some of the photos I loved and some of them I am downright disgusted by. Let's jump into it. So the first set of photos that we are going to look at is from Nathan, who is my cousin's now fiance. He reached out to me and asked me if I would shoot their engagement for him. He had it all planned out. They went to a nice restaurant and he surprised her after dinner with a ring, and he wanted me to capture that moment. And man, did I mess up. So keep in mind, this is my first time shooting photos for anybody other than myself, so I was already a little bit nervous. On top of that, it was my cousin's engagement, so I really wanted these pictures to be great. Just look. So as you can see, the 3 most important photos that I could have gotten that day: Nathan kneeling down for Macy, him showing her the ring, and him sliding the ring on her finger. I captured the moment, but they're out of focus and blurry. Every single one of them. I don't know if I didn't have my autofocus set properly. I don't know if I just didn't know what I was doing with the type of autofocus I had set. I don't know if it was a lens issue, a camera issue. I don't know. More than likely, it was user error. But regardless, I missed those shots, and I was so frustrated whenever I got back home and looked at them, because just looking through my viewfinder, everything was looking good. I was in a decent position. The composition of the photos could have been a little bit better, but none of that really matters because I completely missed focus on it. And thankfully, Nathan and Macy were completely understanding, so was the rest of my family, and I was able to take a few photos afterwards. These turned out pretty good. I like the way it's a beautiful area where we took these photos at, so that makes it nice and easy to frame stuff up. But yeah, these photos turned out pretty good, but man, I was disappointed and super glad that I wasn't being paid to do these photos, because I would have been very upset with myself if that was the what's that word? Result. See, looking at these photos still just messes me up. So this next set of photos I took for my friend TJ, his wife Sabrina, and their son Josiah. We went out and took some family portraits out by the lake. I've shot this location before. I've shot it a couple of times actually, and I was pretty confident going into it that I was going to be able to nail off some bangers, and I got a couple of good family portraits. But I messed up again. You see, the only thing I could think about this entire time is nailing focus. I wanted to make sure everything was in focus, so I used manual focus a good 60% of the time, and the other 40% I was constantly checking the autofocus to make sure that it was on my subject. With all that going through my head and me just trying to come up with cool compositions, cool poses and stuff, I completely failed to pay attention to the actual detail of the photos, and a lot of my photos had just a completely blown out background. I mean, take this one for example. This overall is a pretty good composition. I like the photo, I like the style of it. I actually got this idea off Pinterest, don't tell anybody, but the background is just way too blown out, and even whenever I went into Lightroom and pulled those highlights almost all the way down, it still just wasn't quite what I wanted it to be. I wanted that sky to be nice and blue, the water to be nice and blue, and just to have a nice backdrop. It's still not the most exciting background, but the fact that it's blown out just makes it 100 times worse. Same with this photo. I like the composition of this photo. I like the idea of the pose, but again, the background is completely blown out. Instead of having a blue sky, I have a completely white sky, and it was just too far gone to be able to save with any type of editing. And this last set of photos is for my friend Adam and his girlfriend Kelsey. We went out to the park, took some nice fall portraits, and they turned out pretty good. I would have to say out of all three, this was the session that I was most happy with. I feel like I got the best set of photos out of these. I had 4 to 5 photos in these that I really liked, as compared to the other ones. I only had 2 or 3 in those sets that I was really happy with. So this one was pretty good. Here are a few of the photos. It was really easy to get good photos on this day. It was a perfect sunset, nice fall colors. I really like editing fall colors and fall themes and stuff like that. I have a few presets that I've been using recently that I really like. And yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with these, but that's not to say that there were no mistakes, because there are quite a few things in these photos that I could have done better. This photo is very similar to one of the photos that I really liked that I actually put on my Instagram. And the problem with this photo is the walkway, the path, the road, whatever you want to call it, it's not centered in the photo. That's what I thought I was doing in my head, but I really wasn't looking through the viewfinder. I was kind of just going off the screen. I felt like I was in the middle of the road. I felt like my camera was in the middle of the road, so I just assumed that I was in the middle, and you know what they say about assuming. And one other thing that kind of bothered me about this shoot was the fact that I didn't bring my aperture down low enough throughout a lot of the shoot. Towards the end, I brought it down to about 1.8, 2.8, somewhere in that ballpark, and I started to get a nice depth of field. But for whatever reason, earlier on in the day, I was so worried about blowing out the sky or not having somebody in focus, errors of previous shoots, that I was shooting at a higher aperture, because that kind of protects you from doing both of those things. Most of the day, especially beginning, I stayed around anywhere from f4 to about f8. And I think that that pretty well kind of summarizes everything that I have learned over these last 3 sessions, is just the fact that you are going to make mistakes, and that you should actively try to fix those mistakes while you're doing it, but don't let it hold you back from trying to be creative and do the things that you really want to do. Hopefully some of that makes sense. Hopefully me taking a look at these photos and explaining where I went wrong, how the photos could have looked better, hopefully that helps you guys if you're in a similar position as me, getting into photography, trying to do a little bit of work for other people. I do think at the beginning of 2021, I'm going to launch an actual photography business. It is something that I want to try to do. I've really been into taking photos recently. It's actually stuck around a lot longer than what I thought it would. And yeah, I'm just having fun with it, and I hope to continue to do it. Be sure to leave the video a like, really does help the channel grow. I appreciate the support you guys have shown the channel. Even without me uploading, we've went up a few subscribers. Let's keep that going. I am gonna try to have a video out next week. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.